Welcome back, everybody. As you can see by the mess we've got here, rear main seal is leaking. So take a step over here. Yeah, leaked pretty good there. So all the way clear back to the back of the tractor. So we're definitely going to be getting into this engine here, tearing it down. Like I said, it's probably good to go through it anyways, check it out, make sure everything's all right. So let's jump into it. As you can see here, got a little head start today. Already got the radiator off. It just mounted right here on these two pads. Bolts actually came out really easily. And then I've already taken off the front crank pulley. That one actually came off fairly easy too, for being a press fit there on the end of the crank. So I pulled the air cleaner off front of the engine block as well in preparation for just disassembling everything. So out here working a little bit. Today we're going to take the front timing cover off, drop the front axle out from underneath it. So maybe we'll see if we can get the accessory drive off over here, magneto, governor assembly, and water pump. So we'll just see how far we get in today's episode, but let's jump into it and get going. Alright, to start off, I think we're going to take this castle nut loose back here at the back of the wishbone. And then we ought to be able to drop it down. So the bolt is loose, but the nut is tight. There's no cotter pin in it. But we can get that castle nut off pretty easily. Alright, so our castle nut here is actually hitting the lower oil pan. So we're going to have to pop these two wishbones loose on each side. There's one on each side. These are not castle nuts. They ought to come off pretty easily. All the bolts are loose on this, so it's good we're taking a look at this. Alright, I'm going to go loosen the other side. We'll see if we can get these out. Alright, next up we're going to take out the cotter pin here and try and push this main pivot pin forwards. Alright, we got the pin out. Front did drop down some. Get that pulley out of here. With some of our tools. See now if we can lift it up off the front axle a little bit. Alright guys, so a little time has passed here. We've got the axle out from under the engine. Temporarily have the engine sitting on some stands real quick here. And we have rolled the rear end assembly back out of the way. I think we're going to reposition this engine, try and get the front cover off here yet, and maybe try and get some oil drained out of it here in just a little bit. So let's dive into it. I think first we're going to take off the magneto, take off the governor assembly, and we may go ahead and pull the water pump off right now as well. Just trying to get some of this important stuff off the side of the block. Alright, so here comes the magneto. We'll set that over here on the side. Alright, next is this governor assembly. There is a collar here. So there's a split collar right here. 2 bolts holding that together. We'll take it loose. Then there's this band that just clamps the governor assembly to the side of the block. So we'll take collar loose, pop that band off, governor assembly should come right off. Alright, so the coupling should be loose now. We can spin the governor assembly freely, so we know it is in fact loose. Alright, let's start taking off the clamp strap here on the side. Size wrench. I'm not sure how much this governor assembly weighs. Looks like it could be a little heavy. So we'll just kind of take it easy here. I don't think it's going to be too bad. Try and hold that tight against the block until we get it all the way loose. Hopefully we don't drop it. All right, let's see if we can get it. There we go. Oh, it's not bad at all. I'll set that off to the side over here. Alright, and then we've still got our water pump on here. I think we might as well go ahead and take it loose just to make sure we don't damage it if possible. So first we'll take these 2 bolts loose on the housing that goes into the block. And then we'll take these 3 front ones loose. I've already got this one started here. Alright, so I think we're good. Take that out. Here's the front of the water pump. Gear doesn't look terrible. Definitely needs some cleaning. Get it out of the way and set it off to the side here. Alright, so now we've got the water pump off. Definitely a bunch of sediment and crud. I don't know if you can see there in the water jacket. I'll clean the mud dauber's nest out of the black bracket for the generator, or the governor. But we've got this side pretty well taken care of. So I think we're ready to start looking into pulling the timing cover here. All right, I've gone ahead and lowered the engine down here just to get a little closer to ground, be a little safer. So let's see if we can get all these bolts popped out of this timing cover, get the front end off here, and yeah, see what the timing gears all look like. Alright guys, I've got 2 bolts in the bottom here, and there we go. Front timing cover pulls away. So let me get a bolt back in, just kind of hold it. Just taking this bottom bolt out. Let's see if we can take the whole cover off. Alright, take this top one loose and we'll see what happens. Let me get a board under it to kind of help catch it. Alright, see if we can finish pulling this cover off here. There we go. Just like that. Alright guys, so cover's off. Looks like a little sludge buildup in there. There's this front seal right there. It's coming apart. Alright, here's the timing gears, and if you look, these teeth don't look too bad. Crank gear doesn't look too bad. Top idler gear up here doesn't look too bad. But this idler gear right here, teeth are pretty thin. So there's a lot of backlash in there. You can see right down there, the mesh is not great. So we may be looking for an idler gear there. We'll just kind of have to see how we want to go down that path. So, but I think I'm going to lift it back up, come over here, take the oil galley off, oil filter housing, probably go ahead and pull the lifter covers and pull all the lifters out. Basically get this engine ready to lay on the deck surface up here. So we'll roll it, set it on its deck surface, and I can pull both oil pans off the bottom and lift the crank assembly out of there. So let's get to pulling these last little components off here and get some of the studs taken out yet tonight. Got a little water dripping from there. That's not a good sign. Alright, now this filter assembly here is just a passive filtering system. So this tube that runs alongside the block here, that's your, I would consider, oil galley. Everywhere there's a stud here. There's oil that goes in, feeds the main bearings. This tube comes right out of your oil pump, clear up here. And then there's little ports here. This one goes to your oil gauge. This one goes to lubricate the valve assembly up top. There's a line up front here that lubricates your timing cover. But these two just will passively filter oil through the filter and drain it right back into the block. Alright, get that out of the way. We'll put this washer and nut back on here just temporarily, so we know where those go. Put the oil pan bolt back in. Alright, we'll take this line loose up front here. Now let's get this main oil galley off. Alright, and lastly we'll take the two bolts off of the oil pan here. Now I fully expect oil to come out of this, so I think we're going to lift it up. That way we can drain it into a bucket. bucket over here. Take those loose. All right, now these 3 clamps holding the tube on the side here should just pop off. Maybe. There we go. Alright. That's not a good sign there either. A bunch of water and sludge dripping out of the tube. Oh boy. That tube, I don't know if you can see it. Fairly plugged with sludge, so there we go. Another justification for tearing into this engine a little farther. That is just all water in there. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. Take these lifter covers off, pull the studs out of the top of the block, and we should be fairly stripped down, ready to drain the oil then, and drop the pans. I'm sure some of you are wondering why I haven't drained the oil out quite yet. As you can tell by the water, there's a lot of water in it, but the drain plug was completely covered over with sludge. And there's probably about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch gap between the drain plug and the suction screen for the pump. Now I know this block is over full, so when I drain it out, I know it's going to be for sure more than 5 gallons in it. So I want to make sure I can lift the engine up high enough to be able to swap buckets out fairly fast, because I'm going to have to pull the whole plate off the bottom of the oil pan. It just won't come out. I've tried digging in around the drain plug with a screwdriver. There's just so much sludge in there that I can't get it to drain out of the bottom. So we'll get to that here shortly. Alright, so next we're going to take all these studs out of the top of the block. There's 2 different lengths. There's short ones on the far side over here, and the majority are these longer ones. I'm going to take them out using a stud extractor. This has the star wheel, which comes around, bites into the stud, and then pulls it out. So this usually does a pretty good job of pulling these studs out. We'll take all these out here and get those set off to the side. Alright guys, if you have to pull any studs out of anything, I recommend getting one of these tools. I mean, I didn't have a single stud that snapped off on me. They all came out. These work great. A friend of mine gave this to me, so shout out to RJ. Thank you very much. Worked awesome. Alright guys, well I think that's going to conclude this episode. We've got a pretty good start on stripping the block down here. So you can see all the studs are out. Lifters are still on their bores. Like I said, we may tackle that when we pull the cam out. This side, we've got the governor assembly off, water pump assembly off. So we're looking pretty good. Don't know if anybody noticed it, but there is a repair to the block right in through here. So once we get the block stripped down, we'll kind of have to diagnose and see what's going on there. I don't see any crack up in the top of the deck surface, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. So we'll figure it out here at some point. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. We're making decent progress on it. Hopefully here this week we can get the oil pan drained out, maybe get the engine on top of the jugs there and have a look down inside at the bearings and everything. So thank you guys very much. If you wouldn't mind, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe. We'll keep putting videos out as fast as we can. Thank you guys.